going to send this around and just take a look at you. If you haven't heard about it, please grab. She's a wonderful presenter, so I really highly recommend. And then our conference. I'm just going to do the but I'll send this around. So this is our flyer for our conference, which is November 1st. So if you have not heard about it, or you want to take one of the folks to your historic site, please. More than welcome. And the last thing I'm going to send around, we have nifty-little postcards now for New Jersey Women Vote, which is our 19th Amendment Semiquincentennial initiative. Showing we have over 70 partners already working with us for the 19th Amendment. Legal Women Voters, Semiquincentennial, counties, we've got real staff, so this is a little postcard that has the events that are coming. Except the last one, bring that back to me when it's all done. So I'm you, sir. Please come get more. So we have, for our conference, we already have well over 80 registers, right? They're updated count.
So that's calling 84, and the early bird rate ends on October 7th. So
and our internal goal is maybe 100 with the early bird rate, so we're almost there. So we're excited. I think it's going to be a great conference. It is, as Tim corrects me, in the last week. I should take him wherever I go, and I almost do. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to Historic Flemington. And since I'm Sarah Curtin, by the way, Executive Director of the New Jersey Historical Commission. But I had the great good fortune to have Carrie Fellows right next to me. And Carrie is our host this evening.
you're welcome.
I want to say thank you.
Just go right and then go right there on the elevator. And there are 1935 appropriate historic bathrooms downstairs in the main hallway, gentlemen and ladies. There's also another accessible unisex bathroom. We also have easier to access stairs and an elevator, again, right behind us. This is the 1935 restored courthouse. The courthouse itself dates to 1828, but the period of significance is the internationally significant Lindbergh baby trial. And that took place here. There are portraits of those individuals who played a part in it, except for, of course, Mr. Lindbergh and his wife, Anne Morrow. So that's all I'm going to say.
And thank you, Carrie, and thank you for being our host. So, okay. Now, just so you know why I'm going to kind of try to remind myself to stay stationary here, it's because we want to pick up the audio so that the folks on GoToMeeting can hear what's going on. So I'll try to restrain myself from moving too much, which is hard. But I do want to be able to introduce everyone who's in the audience to each other and to our folks on GoToMeeting. Perhaps what I can ask you to do is stand and maybe either I could repeat the names, Madeline, or you could type them into the chat box. Which would you prefer?
Whichever makes sense. I'm worried I would spell names wrong if I
Very good point. So I'm going to repeat them. I'm going to do my best. So if you'd introduce yourself, and I'll try to repeat it to everybody online. I was going to ask you to start with this gentleman in the front row, in the Yankees t-shirt. The brave man in the Yankees t-shirt.
My name is John Rusko, and I'm a friend of mine.
John Rusko?
Artist.
Gotcha. From the Friends of Monmouth Battlefield.
Barbara Moore, Union Township Historical Society, and Claire Parsonage.
Barbara Moore from Union County.
Dennis Moore from Union Township Historical Society.
Nancy B. Lubar from the Plainville Historical Society, Drake Museum.
Great. We're going to come back to Sean, okay, in just a minute. I knew this one. Okay.
Hans Perez from the Battleground Historical Society.
Gina Roseland, Rowan County Cultural and Heritage.
Bob Barth, Friends of the Walsh House.
It's your lovely wife.
Linda Barth, League of Historical Societies of New Jersey.
Mike Mankin, Muncie County Parks. Tim Hart, Ocean County Historian.
Janice O'Brien, Women of the American Revolution, Stockton, New Jersey. And Matt Early from the Washington Crossing Park Association. Patricia Miller, Washington Crossing Park Association, New Jersey side.
Very important to get that in.
Carrie Fellows, County Cultural and Heritage Commission.
Evan Trumbull, representing Senator Little Red Weinberg, and the Washington Association of New Jersey. And I was delighted to see the two Washington Crossing people sitting together. That's great. Thank you.
Rachel Goldberg, Liberty Hall Museum in Union.
I'm Alex Jason, I'm a local Revolutionary War enthusiast, and I'm also a trustee of the 102nd Cavalry Regiment Association.
I'm Nikki Tadaro with Save Ellis Island from Jersey City.
John Keyser, New Jersey Sons of the American Revolution, and Springfield Forgotten Victory Trail.
Linda Simon from the Belleville Historical Society located in Fishtown.
Excellent.
Kyle Magnus, Friends of the Weather Mansion.
I'm Paul Soltis from the State Park Service. I'm interpretive specialist at Wallace House and Undutch Parsonage in Somerville.
Gabe Clark, Friends of Bruno Hauptmann.
No one's
Union County Parks, Cultural and Heritage.
It's a great man to make that joke for this one, right? All right, and let me introduce, if you don't know them already, my wonderful colleagues up here at the table.
Sue Kaufman, Frustrates the American Revolution.
Madeline Rosenberg, New Jersey Historical Commission.
Greer Luce, New Jersey Historical Commission.
So I think we're all introduced except our friends online. Now, Madeline, have they introduced themselves? Do you have a roster?
I have a roster here.
Okay, we'll hear who's online.
So we can just look at that up. Okay.
I'm sorry for any mispronunciations. Cynthia Hollid Wallace House and ODP Association. Deb Pavizos, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Elizabeth Dowd, Martha,
Yeah.
Maxine Lurie,
Maxine.
P. Taylor, do we know who that might be?
Paul Taylor?
Paul Taylor, Walter Lane. Oh, do they have a chat? Let's see, we're also going to check the message. Oh, representatives from the Somerset County Cultural and Heritage Commission are watching the webcast. Oh, that was Walter Lane.
Okay, great.
Very good. So welcome. This is one of our regular series of quarterly updates on what we've been up to in terms of getting ready for the Semiquincentennial. So I'm delighted to give you some updates on what we've been up to, and then at the end we want to give you a chance to ask us questions and also share your comments and insights on what you're hearing and thinking and working on in your own respective sites and areas. areas. So we can go, Mallory, if you can, to the next. She's typing furiously. It's very hard to be the webmaster in these events. And the first thing we want to do is introduce, we have a special guest, Sean McBurney from America 250, which is the U.S. Semiquincentennial Commission. And we're just thrilled he could join us, and so we can tell him all about how New Jersey's better than any of the other states. And if you wouldn't mind, Sean, would you just say a few words of welcome and tell us a little bit about what's going on at the national level?
You are so lucky to have Sarah. She is so far ahead of us. I'm here learning, actually. We are still getting ourselves organized. We're supposed to establish our bylaws and approve them by about December, with luck. And then we're going to go around the country and listen to what other states are saying. We are taking a lead largely from the states. We plan on setting broad guidelines for the overall commemoration. And we're trying to organize around 3 themes: unity, education, and engagement. And we're trying to reach each and every American. Those are the broad themes. And what we hope to do is help support states in all their activities. We do not want to dictate what the states will do. We want to support them in what they're doing, and then share. If Sarah comes up with a great idea, we'd like to share that with other states and have the other states learn from that, help build on it, and vice versa. We're hoping to have a brand that will be available to you that you can modify for New Jersey, that the state can modify for their own states, and then they can use that fundraising within their own states. Hoping, and this is probably way premature, hopefully, if we raise enough money, we'll have grants available for states. So if you have programs, hopefully we'll maybe have some seed money available for programs that meet this broad criteria we're laying out. But right now, I think there's 7 of us on staff. And I'm in charge of all the states, the territories, and the Indians, and anybody else in the that basket. So I'm a little busy, but I get to try.
We got to come to New Jersey, so.
I do, and I'm thrilled to be in this place. This is awesome. These are other jobs.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm going to add a couple of other notes to what Sean just gave you, a great overview of what's going on at the national level. They have been meeting. I think the first meeting was about a year ago, if I'm remembering correctly. And they recently had a meeting in Washington, September 16th, where they continue to work on the long-range plan and goals, objectives, and all that essential foundational planning. Janice Sellinger, I think you all know, the executive director of Crossroads, was able to attend the dinner, I think, just prior to the meeting, and reported that there were more partners arriving and more new organizations engaging, which is wonderful. And she had a great opportunity at that dinner to make some more connections for us with other partners from other parts of the nation. And we also learned on Saturday, because Frank Giordano was at the Crossroads event on Saturday, that you all are very busy working on the report that must go to the White House at the end of the year. And so we can all wish you luck with that challenging, I'm sure, challenging process to get that report together. Now there are some other new developments that I want to make sure you're aware of. The National Endowment for Humanities is, I think, doing a really good job right now of leading the way at the national level. And they have just released their new guidelines, which embeds this initiative of more perfect union in many of their programs. So if any of you have aspirations to apply to the NEH for funding to work on projects in preparation for the Semiquincentennial, now is the time to start thinking about that. We, in fact, had a meeting very recently where our little team began to look at them and think about things that we might be able to apply for. And so we really encourage you all to do that as well. Their director, John Peedy, I think is very engaged with this, and he's very interested in a number of issues that I think are near and dear to our hearts, including civics education and civic engagement. So it's an opportunity to take a look at that. There we go, okay. And then I can also give you an update from the American Association for State and Local History, where we started as a task force more than 2 years ago, actually. And now that group has actually grown into a full-blown coordinating committee for the American Association for State and Local History. And that's a great resource for us. Because it's an opportunity for us to learn and engage with partners from all around the country. And now we've expanded to include representatives on that committee from some of the key agencies and institutions. So we've got some folks from the Smithsonian now, we've got some folks from NEH, from the National Council for the Social Studies, we have a representative from AAM, the American Alliance for Museums. So we really morphed this, what started very much as a ASLH group, now to have a much more national scope in terms of membership. And I think that body will be a great resource for sharing ideas and developing partnerships as we move forward. So how many of you were at the ASLH meeting in Philadelphia last month? Carrie was there, Tim was there. It was a great meeting. If you weren't able to go, you want to know more about it, ask one of us. We'd be happy to tell you more about what happened. But at that annual meeting, there was a convening of this committee where we really shared a lot of information about what different organizations are working on. And we have identified goals at the national level. I am honored to chair that particular committee for ASLH. So we developed goals for ASLH's group, and now we've got teams of professionals from all across the nation really working on each of those goals to articulate them much more fully. And we anticipate publishing the results of the work of those groups later this fall. And I hope that that will be a great tool, again, for all of us to share ideas and really foster some creativity and partnerships as we move forward. Now, on to New Jersey. What are we doing here? So I'm going to start by giving you an update on what we've been doing in terms of education. So as I've had the great privilege to be part of a number of conversations around the Semiquincentennial, I am struck over and over again at how the issue of education, K-12, social studies or history education comes up over and over again as something that people are really concerned about and very, very interested in. So as part of New Jersey's initial preparation, one of our major initiatives is to launch a survey of social studies education K-12. We're working in partnership with the Department of Education, and we also have input from the New Jersey Council for the Social Studies and from New Jersey History Day. So that sounds perhaps really simple and straightforward, what I just said. I'm here to tell you it's really, really not. It's a big project and it's really very challenging. So what we're attempting to do is do a statewide survey, a survey of every school in New Jersey to find out what's really going on in terms of social studies education. And by that I mean, the survey is going to ask things like, how many hours are devoted to social studies in your school for each of the grade levels? Who's teaching the social studies in your school, and what is their background and qualification? We hope to be able to ask about what textbooks are you using, if you're using textbooks. Are you teaching social studies in an integrated format? or is it a standalone subject? And then we're going to ask some questions that I presume will be really near and dear to the hearts of many folks in this room, because we want to ask about, are you able to take students out on field trips related to social studies? Are you able to bring social studies enrichment in a programming into the school? Are you able to offer extracurricular programs in social studies? I'm using social studies because that's the term they use, but you can read history. And we're also going to ask about professional development opportunities for teachers. What are you able to offer to your teachers? What kind of credit can you give them for doing that additional professional development? So we're going to ask a whole range of those kinds of questions. And our goal is to get every single school in New Jersey to respond. I don't think it's ever been done before. But they've done it for the arts. There's been an arts education comprehensive statewide survey, I think 3 times. So we are using the same consultant, Quadrant Research, that has done the arts surveys. And so our goal is to get that. What I keep calling is a snapshot. To get a snapshot of what's going on in terms of social studies education in New Jersey schools right now. We're going to use it 2 ways. We're going to use it to think about what could we do in the context of the Semiquincentennial to really enrich and meet some of the needs that we see out there in terms of teaching social studies. But the other way that we're going to use it is as a benchmark that we can use to survey again in a few years to see what may or may not have changed in the intervening time period. Now, one of the things that keeps coming up in this process is some of you who are teachers, and I know we've got a couple in the room at least, and Linda back there too. You may know that the social studies learning standards are being revised. They're under revision right now. But the fact we have to do this survey now, and it's a good and bad situation. I think it's really good, because what this then gives us the opportunity to do is redo the survey after the new standards have been implemented to see if what has changed, to see if there's what kind of impact those new standards are actually having on the teaching of social studies. So it's a big project. We're excited about it. We're working on the prototype, the draft survey right now. It's going to be tested with about 50 New Jersey schools this fall. And then our goal is to release the survey statewide in the spring. So it will go out to all schools. That's the goal, I think, around February. And then the rest of the school year will be a process of following up and trying to get each and every one of those schools to respond. The key to doing that is actually releasing the survey through Department of Education's system, so it's easy and familiar for all of the principals to be able to access. So there you go. Now, the other initiative we have underway, we actually demonstrated just before this meeting. We met, as I think we reported at our last meeting, we did have a meeting with the boards of both the Historical Commission and Crossroads, with a terrific consultant, Allison Tremarco, who has been guiding us through a long-range planning process. And so we've taken those draft goals for the Semiquincentennial in New Jersey, and now we're taking those on the road. And we're meeting with different constituencies around the state to get reaction to them, to see how they resonate with different folks all around the state. So today, before this meeting, we invited folks who are from, we term sort of broadly as Revolutionary War enthusiasts, so folks who maybe are involved in reenactment groups, but also folks who are involved with some of our historic sites that deal with the Revolution, folks who are involved and members maybe of some of our lineage societies, etc. So that's the group we had for a really great conversation just before this meeting. A fight nearly broke out. It was great. I wish I had taped it. It was really terrific. But it was a very friendly fight, and no shots were fired, thank goodness. But we have more groups coming up. We're going to be meeting with teachers next week. We are going to be meeting with members of the South Asian community in Middlesex County. So that's going to be really, really, really interesting. We're working on a session with young professionals, and I think a lot of them are probably going to follow the millennial generation, millennial-ish.
We've reframed that one.
We've reframed that one. Do you want to tell us what the new frame is?
Sure. So two of the other sessions we have in the works are also a session hoping to meet with leaders in New Jersey's African American community, and then we are also hoping to hold a session with public history students and professionals, which will include likely millennials and members of other generations, but we're hoping to get a good turnout from emerging professionals, particularly in those sort of familiar with the latest training and best practices, to hear their take as well.
And we're doing that one up at Rutgers Newark in conjunction with their public humanities program, I think, largely. A lot of you know Mary Rizzo, so Mary's partnering with us. As is something else, is Kristen also partnering with us?
She will be helping out, yeah.
So that would be a great one too. And then we've been working with a variety of groups on the one that Natalie mentioned, where we can pull together members of the African American community or the communities, because we know it's not monolithic, it's diverse within itself. So we work with Sankova, some of you know Sankova, Linda Epps, and that group. And we're partnering with a number of other leaders from that community to put together a conversation with that group. So we have a lot cooking, and we will continue. And by the way, we're just now telling you about the 6th that we are doing with Allison Tremarco as part of our long-range planning process, but we're going to continue having those conversations for quite a while. You're going to get sick of it. Because the point is, we want to keep the conversation going and make it not a one-way oration from us, but rather to engage in a back and forth with all members of different communities around the state. And by the way, if you have a suggestion for a group that you think we need to go out and speak to, that would be really helpful to hear. So maybe you could direct that to Madeline if you have, there's a group that you think really we need to go and talk to. We'd love to hear about. We are already holding conversations with members of the Latino communities in different parts of the state. And we're also in conversation with the Native American tribes in New Jersey. So we are already in relationship with those different groups. So we'd love to hear about more that you think we should be reaching out to. Oh, and I should just add that Madeline very helpfully, aren't these PowerPoints great? Thank Madeline, do not thank me.
Team effort.
And Sue as well. But we also going to have an online survey available for folks to respond to our goals for the Semiquincentennial. So we want to make it available to maybe folks who can't get out to the meeting. Okay. Am I doing this one? Okay. So earlier, I think, in our previous session, somebody said, when we asked for suggestions, just don't call it the Semiquincentennial. Yeah, right? Who said that? I think it was you. Yeah, right. So 250, and you'll notice that the national effort has already named themselves America 250, which is not such a mouthful. I think I'm the only one who likes to say Semiquincentennial. I don't know why, I just like it. But we're not going to use that. And actually what we're doing is we are launching a contest for a design for our logo. And Greer, has it gone live, the logo contest, or are we in the next day or two?
Yes.
Okay. Watch for an announcement. Because we have and Greer has done a great job of pulling that together. So we'll be having a contest for folks to enter to design a logo for us. As you can see, it's going to be open to all New Jersey residents or enrollees in New Jersey schools. And we'll have a judging process, and our goal is to announce the winner during Patriots Week, which you all will attend. Yes, you will. And you'll come on December 28th, and we'll have a big unveiling of our new logo and our new title, which we have in draft form. You'll see it when we announce the contest. I don't think I'll reveal it yet. But,
Build suspense.
yeah, build suspense, but it's not such a mouthful. It's not as big a mouthful as Semiquincentennial. So look for that. Why are we doing this? We need a logo, right? We need an identity. But we also think this is a great opportunity maybe to raise awareness, to get the message out and get some attention drawn to us. So you all can help us with that too. When the press release comes out, if you want, please share it. Carrie's terrific about sharing it. I know she will share it in Hunterdon County, and Tim will share it in Ocean County. I'm sure, please, all of you share the logo contest too. It'll help raise awareness around the whole state of what we've been doing. Now, I think I get to turn over the microphone now to Sue Kaufman to tell you about our other big project, which is the site assessment.
Thanks, Sarah. First of all, I would like to extend my apology, or Janice's apologies for not being able to be here today. Unfortunately, she had an event that she couldn't move near Trenton about 10 minutes before this event started. So hopefully I'll be able to kind of muddle through what she would have done so much more excellently. So as Sarah mentioned, this site assessment project, it is finally getting close to half done. The first stage is just about done. Just as a reminder, this was the assessment of 140 sites across New Jersey. So the last time that we talked to the team, they were just kind of getting into the ones that they weren't able to get into in little places around the state, so there was just a handful left as of, I guess, about 2 weeks ago. They have also been doing a lot of work in the background, looking at other site analyses that have been done earlier, as well as our heritage tourism expert, Cheryl Hargrove, on the team has been looking online at the presence that various sites have, as well as any TripAdvisor reviews, things like that, just to get a sense of what folks have been experiencing at our sites. So the good news is that the next stage is going to be starting pretty quickly. The team is going to be visiting about 30 key sites across the state. So they're going to be going back. Cheryl's going to be coming in and actually visiting face-to-face the sites as well. And these 30 sites are pretty much across the state. And they meet a few criteria that include being crucial for telling the story of the Revolution in New Jersey. That they are along potential tourist routes, that they are historically very important, yet maybe haven't quite met their potential yet, and could meet that potential with a little more investment or a little more work. And of course, sites that might be good locations for one or more revolutionary visitor centers. And we are expecting to get the report from them in advance of March 2020, and they will be presenting that at the Crossroads annual meeting next year in March. Upcoming workshop. Those of you who are Crossroads Heritage Partners are aware that we do semi-annual development workshops for folks. And we have had some scheduled for this month and next month, which we have postponed in favor of a winter workshop that is going to take a slightly different approach and will also be co-sponsored by the New Jersey Historical Commission. So stay tuned for information about the Inclusive Interpretation Workshop, which will be at Mormon on January 24th. And this is going to help sites create a more visitor-centered experience and present a history that is more relevant to a larger span of our population. So if you go, you'll learn about methods from experts and hear examples from local sites that have successfully brought inclusive history interpretation to their sites. And as always, our heritage partners will get a little advance notice on this, so if you're interested, you get the email, please sign up as soon as possible. Oh, this is the fun part. Everybody likes to hear that fun day. As Sarah mentioned, Crossroads had an event over the weekend, and this was held at Tusculum, which was the estate of John Witherspoon, signer of the Declaration, in Princeton. And it's a private home still, so we were very fortunate that the current owners were willing to open up their beautiful barn for us. And as you can see, everything took place in the barn and cleaned up really nicely. So it was a great opportunity for us to make some new friends for the 250th and also create a little buzz. And as Sarah mentioned, Frank Giordano from the National Semiquincentennial Commission, because I don't like saying 250th, he was there and he told us what was going on at the national level. We also were pleased to have Ian Kahn, who you might be familiar with him as George Washington from the TV show Turn. So he provided his perspectives. And we also got a visit from Witherspoon, Hamilton, and Burr, who came to talk amongst themselves and took a few questions from us, actors from the American Historical Theater. We are continuing to work to build our campaign council. Don't have anything specific in terms of membership at this point to share, but needless to say, the work is continuing. And Sarah, I don't know if you want to say anything about the state funding?
Are you?
Got one more thing, but.
In terms of, and I think, so you're talking about the FY20 appropriation. So, as some of you probably already know, we received $300,000 in the FY 2020 state budget. It is, as you may have seen in the newspaper, it is one of those items that is being held at this time. So it has not yet been released. So we, unfortunately, I don't have an update for you that it has been released. It has not as of yet, but we continue to monitor that and hope that that will happen very, very soon.
Okay, thank you. And two events in November. One is Crossroads, the other is the Historical Commission. So I'll just talk for a moment about the Crossroads sponsored or co-sponsored event. Even though it's not an official 250th event, thought you might be interested and if you want to put it on your calendar. We're joining forces with the Camden County Historical Society to offer a taste of history on November 3rd. And this is going to take place in the same place where our quarterly meeting in July took place, if you went to that. So this is a really great example of how historic sites can kind of get people to come to their sites for something other than the specific history of the site. Chef Walter Stout filmed an episode of his Emmy Award-winning program at Pomona Hall several months ago, and he is coming back to talk about that experience. We'll also have a showing of that episode, and we will also have some what promise to be really, really yummy pastries. So if pastries alone can't get you to come, I don't know what to do for you. The $30 ticket price will include all of that, plus a DVD of the series. I think it's that specific year of the series. But we'll be sending out more details shortly, so please, if you're interested, make sure you let us know. We've already gotten a few people who said that they might be willing to come, so seats will be going fairly quickly. So that's all I have to say about that. Sorry.
And I've already talked about our conference, so I won't do that again. So I think, great. So as usual, at every quarterly meeting, we'd like to give you some resources. So we've got a few here for you to check out to learn more. Let's see, the Heritage Tourism Workshop presentation from Cheryl Hargrove. There's a link to that if you were unable to attend her wonderful workshops this summer. And even if you were, it's great to be able to refer back to that. There's a lot of information in there. One of the things that the ASH committee is doing is an annual census of all 50 states plus the territories to see where everybody is in terms of semi-quincentennial planning. So the most recent survey results were published this past summer, and you can access them at that link and see how well New Jersey's doing compared to our friends and colleagues around the country. We already mentioned the NEH initiative. There's a link to guidelines for you. And then there's also some audience evaluation tools and resources that we'd like to share with you, since we firmly believe that talking to your audience and hearing what they need and are interested in is one of the best tools for growth and success. And now we have an announcement of our next meeting. Our next quarterly meeting will be January 8th, and because that's our winter meeting, we're going to make it a web-based gathering. We won't worry about the snow and the rain and all that, the ice, and we'll do it through GoToMeeting. So we will send you more announcements of that to remind you, but that is the next date. And now it's your turn. We would love to hear what questions you might have, suggestions, updates of your own. Yes.
For the survey, you're saying every school building or every school district?
Every school building.
And
thank you. You said good?
yeah.
Good.
Possibly keep in mind that if you ask them how many hours they spend on history, not how many hours in the curriculum, but how many in fact. Because oftentimes test prep, something has to go, and it's all usually social stuff.
Yep. We're going to attempt to do that.
I know, but you can't find out.
Right, so thank you. That's why I have such great colleagues. Greer reminds me I need to repeat the question to folks online, or the comment. And Linda, you know what? I think if she repeats it, it'll be picked up.
Are you surveying every school building or every school district? And the answer was every school building. I also asked that they be careful that they don't give you the numbers of how many hours of history are taught that is just in the curriculum, but how many in fact, but that is hard, I know to come by.
Yes, other comments or questions?
Have the 30 sites been narrowed down to some list of potential sites, and can we get that list?
There is at least a draft list of them, which we don't have with us this evening. So let me go back to Janice and the consultants, and let me see what the status of that one is, okay? Be happy to get back to you.
So with that survey that had been done,
which one of the sites?
Oh, the sites. Yes. I'm curious, are we going to get a report on our site, and will they give us an idea of what needs to be done? And will there be a chance to get funding to help us accomplish that? Yes?
My goodness. Great questions. So let's take them one by one. Yes, the whole goal of doing this survey create a tool that would not only be helpful to the semi-quincentennial planning, but hopefully be helpful to each and every site that was surveyed. Now, we know some sites have had the historic structures reports, or perhaps they have a preservation plan. Maybe they've been through a recent capital project, but many sites have not. So one of the goals here was to be able to give some of that baseline information back to all of you, as well as to use for our planning purposes. So yes, once the full report is done, we're absolutely going to make that public and share it with you, so that every site that was visited, you're going to see what the team saw. They're going to, I think they're going to do some rough estimates of what the costs for some of the needed work might be. Now, it won't be a firm cost estimate, but it'll be a general idea for you. So we hope that that's going to be a tool that will not only help us, but will help all of you. So that's the first question. Now, funding. Yes, we hope that there will be funding for you. Now, what I want to point out, and I'm sure it's going to take a number of different forms. Once we see the report, we'll be looking at that, and we'll then have to make some decisions about where we can play the most effective role in helping with funding at the sites. The other thing to remember is the New Jersey Historic Trust does have a grant program that could help with a lot of these projects. So that's going to be another resource, and I hope a very important resource for a lot of the projects that need to be done to apply to that and get some funding that way. The Cultural Trust will also have another capital round coming up in 2 years. So that's another target for all of the projects to think about. 2 years from now, you might be able to apply and get some funding from the Cultural Trust. And then we're just going to look to the U.S. Semiquincentennial Commission for all the rest, right? Yeah, there we go. No, but the real answer, the nuanced answer, is that there's not going to be a single solution for every funding need. But what we're going to do is look at the total picture. We're going to try to define how we as a state group can be most effective at helping you meet some of those needs. And then we'll try to partner and give suggestions for what you can do within your own organizations to identify sources for that. Okay, so that's not a simple answer, but it's trying to give you an honest answer.
I guess the question is, what coordination has been done on the American Battlefield Protection Program study of priority battlefields for protection in New Jersey, as well as associated sites? And then the second piece of that is I've just attended a workshop at Morristown on the Washington Rochambeau Revolutionary Route, in which they have begun to identify core sites along the main trail in New Jersey, but also other high-profile sites that they'd like to see protected. So I think it'd be a good idea to make an effort to coordinate with the two national reports, which also have some funding levels available as well.
Thank you, Kevin. That's a really good reminder. And Sean, can you tell us? You may not know, but maybe you can let us know, or I can ask some of our other partners at American Battlefield Trust who the contact person would be over on their side for the New Jersey related battlefield project.
I'll start with Jim Handy.
Yeah, okay, so I'll reach out to Jim and see if I can get an update from him on what's going on with that project. Yeah, I think the woman who was working on that has gone to a different position, as I recall, in Florida, but I'll ask Jim. And I will certainly report back. Great.
Just thinking about the logo and the branding for the future, and this is part of the whole larger anniversary too, but its usefulness in the year 2026, and then also its usefulness sort of for the whole 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War in New Jersey. I'm assuming that's part of the criteria, but just curious how you look at that.
Yes, oh, did you want me to come?
Yeah, I think the logo contest is a great way to raise awareness, but it's not always a great way to get a great logo. I mean, as many of the people in this room know, working on a logo is a very fraught process. And so it needs to look big, it needs to look small, it needs to look good on all of, because it's going to end up on a lot of our stuff. So I just want to kind of be reassured that the guidelines are very specific that are going out.
Well, we have tried to make them very specific. And I will tell you that your advice is one that we have heard from other folks as well. So we realize, and how many have done logo contests in this room? Do we have? Yes. So I think we are prepared for the fact that the logo contest may not yield the actual logo. So maybe I should leave it at that. That, you know, that we realize it's a process, so what we may, exactly, that it could be a starting point that then could be developed further to get to the absolute final logo that we're looking for. Is that fair? Yeah, okay. So we are aware of that, and we're going into it with that understanding. Does that help? Okay. Do you want to add anything to that, Greer, about anything else you think would be useful? No? Okay. Okay.
Thanks. This summer, I was out in the Rockies and used a travel app called Travel Stories. It's one of several new style apps out there. There's Travel Stories, there's Gypsies, and a few others. And I think it's worth considering beyond the static sites of creating tours. They're absolutely incredible, where once you build the narration, you can take people through an area. People who need not get out and look at the site, but will learn everything about it simply by, okay, it's Christmas night. You are now going to follow Washington across the river and where he goes. And as you're driving, it's also telling the story, so that you're not just sitting at the site listening to someone narrate. I know that you can go, for example, on the Travel Story site, and if you contract, I'm not getting a percentage out of this, but because we're looking into it in Newton County, but if you contract with them, you have a choice. You can, some private organizations charge for you to access the tour, or you simply pay for it. So there's one out there for some of the airports have art exhibits, and you can actually walk through the art exhibit. And the beauty of these apps is that you don't have to have Wi-Fi to make them work. You download the story that you want to hear at the tour, and then they are GPS enabled on your phone, so that once you get to the spot where it's going to tell you about, you know, the challenge of crossing the river that night, it's going to give that section of the story. You drive across for a few miles up the highway, and then it tells you the next section. And I think there's a whole market out there for people, because it's the same theme as the East Coast Greenway, the September 11th National Memorial Trail. There's a whole group of people out there, especially retirees, who are simply going to drive these areas. They may not necessarily stop, but we can't get the same history across to them just through another medium.
Excellent. Okay, other questions and comments?
Is there a prize for the logo competition? Like money? Something?
It's dinner with Tim Hart. And $1,500. But we just said better make it interesting, Tim. It's actually, there is a prize. The prize is, it's $1,500. Yeah, $1,500 prize. So. Yes, the title is, I was going to leave you in suspense just for a few more days until we release the press release. But we'll send it to all of you. How's that? We'll make sure you get it. Okay?
It's really cool. Sarah came up with it.
Not by myself, not by myself.
Other last $50
Okay. All right, other questions and comments? Okay, are you sure? All right, then the last thing I want to mention to all of you, thank you all for coming out to this beautiful courthouse, and thank you again, Carrie, for having us. And I do want to add for everybody, before we end, that we feel that with these quarterly new meetings, we're kind of morphing now maybe into a phase 2 with them. And so one of the things that we're anticipating doing is actually having a featured speaker in the future at the quarterly meetings. So we would love to have suggestions. You can certainly offer suggestions of folks who could come in. We've done this very successfully, I would say, with the 19th Amendment Planning Group. In the second year, we started having a featured speaker to talk about some aspect of the revolution, or heritage tourism, or a variety of different topics related. So we hope that'll be an incentive for you to keep coming and to bring your friends, so that we can keep our conversation going. So any last questions before we adjourn? Then we want you to travel safely back home, and we look forward to seeing you at our conference, right, on November 1st, and hopefully some of you I know will be at the fundraising workshops as well, so we'll see you then.